Luxury Radio, Nigeria's first real estate radio.
The 5-kilometer Okpanam-Ibuza Link Road has since been commissioned, a landmark progress that has contributed to the development of quarters on its corridors, one of which is host to Heartland by Cedarwood 6. Sold out and with multiple plots allocated, Heartland by Cedarwood 6 is at 60% development level, and some subscribers to the estate are erecting their mansions already. As a brand, we are glad that our effort at providing affordable property options across locations is yielding the results anticipated. Hence, we invite you to take advantage of our current selling offers across locations. Visit www.p1plus.ng for details.
Checking where my next vacation will be, must be somewhere I'm going to have an overview of water. Water is life. Water has a spiritual connection. It's either you bathe with it, you cook with it, or you drink it. The decision of what you do with water is yours. Welcome to Billionaires Lakeview. What an amazing place. I feel good. Do you know that breeze that comes from the waters? Do you know how it feels when the breeze is actually blowing away your memories of stress? That's what comes from water. This amazing estate has been fully plotted. If you take a look around, you're going to see that this estate has been fully plotted and is measuring 464 square meter. And of course, it is a table dry land. Not just a table dry land, it is also a leveled land. I must guarantee you that when you pay, you point and you get instant allocation. Oh my God. One thing about Billionaires Lakeview is that you can't stop being excited the moment you step your feet here. Billionaires Lakeview is actually located in Edo-Ogwashuku, right in Delta State, Nigeria. And of course, it comes with an amazing features like under drainage system, solar, street lights, playground, and of course the lake view. Guys, I'm not done. CCTV camera and everything you can ever think of. Even a shopping mall will be inside this place. All these are the features you'll be expecting in Billionaires Lakeview and many more. Guys, let's go and see more of the things you need to know about the Billionaires Lakeview. Come, 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 come. You need to see more. Are you seeing what we're doing here? This is amazing. This is what we promise you. Is either premium or nothing. In Billionaires Lakeview, we are not reducing our standard for anything. having secured the estate to make sure that your investment is highly protected. Now, I want you to know that this place is selling for 12.5 million naira. Woo! As against 15.5 million naira. And with 3.5 million naira, you are getting a standard special plot right inside this amazing estate, which comes with a tile lane, landscaping with a beautiful fence. Why with 5.5 million naira added to the already existing price, you will get a premium special plot that comes with a tile lane on the wall, landscaping, beautiful fence with a touch of brick. And don't forget, it comes with C of O, certificates of occupancy, best of its kind in the city of Asaba. If you, the right thing to do right now is to call the person that forwarded you this video for instant subscription. I tell you, this amazing estate is currently selling now, but by February next year, 2025, this estate is likely to be sold at 30 million naira. So the best time to buy this Billionaire Lakeview estate is now. Buy today and thank me tomorrow.
P1 Plus, making home ownership a reality.
Hello viewers, I am Ambassador Dr. Julius Oyedemi, your most astounding CEO 2023 P1 Group. The best radio to listen to is no other than Cedarwood Luxury Radio. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Michael Ahwetie. I'm the Managing Director of P1 Pro, and I want to encourage you to subscribe to Cedarwood Radio.
Dear esteemed clients and PBOs, we want to take a moment to express our deepest gratitude for your unwavering commitment and patronage of Cedarwood Luxury Brands. Your trust in us is the cornerstone of our success, and we are incredibly thankful for your continued support. We are excited to remind you of Cedarwood Luxury Radio, Nigeria's first real estate radio. As a token of our appreciation, we will be celebrating your birthdays live on our radio programs. We encourage you to ask your friends and family to tune in and share in the joy of your special day. Our engaging and insightful programs air every Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 10 a.m., 1 p.m., and 4 p.m. From interviews with industry experts to discussions on the latest in real estate, there's something for everyone. We look forward to having you and your loved ones join us on Cedarwood Luxury Online Radio as we continue to bring you exciting and informative content. Thank you once again for being a vital part of our Cedarwood Luxury family. My name is David, Programs and Broadcast Coordinator for Cedarwood Luxury Online Radio.
Welcome to Insights and Knowledge with the Real Estate Minister. Today we are going to dive into the trend in the Nigerian real estate market for 2024. It is estimated that Nigeria has 28 million unit housing deficit in 2023, mostly in urban areas, where it's home to about 51.7% of the population. To add to this, the country's population, estimated at 223.8 million, is growing at 2.44% annually. The Nigerian real estate market size was valued at 91.1 million in 2023, forecast to grow to 2.26 trillion in 2024, of which residential 0.93 trillion, or we say 85.4%, and is predicted to reach 137.8 million by 2030 at compound annual growth rate of 6.1% from 2024 to 2030. Now let's dive into the top trend shaping 2024. 1. Massive growth. Nigerians' urbanization, rising income, and growing middle class are driving the real estate surge. Major cities like Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt are hotspots for new development. 2. Luxury housing. Despite economic challenges, luxury properties are in high demand. High-end communities in Lagos and Abuja are offering security, comfort, and proximity to top amenities. 3. Real estate investment companies. Co-ownership and tokenized investment are revolutionizing real estate markets. Young Nigerians love this low-cost, low-risk way to invest in properties. 4. Tech revolution. Technology is transforming the Nigerian real estate market. From online portals to virtual tours, buying and selling of properties is now easier and more innovative than ever. 2024 is an exciting year for Nigerian real estate markets. Whether you're an investor or a home buyer, there are endless opportunities for you. Stay informed and make smart moves. I remain a real estate minister.
If you are planning to invest in real estate, picking a market is super important. For some people, it is really easy. Maybe the market that you live in is a great place for investing. But for others, actually scouring the country for the best place that fits your overall strategy is an essential part of getting started with real estate investing. Deciding between markets isn't necessarily difficult, but it can be a little bit overwhelming for people. I'm actually doing this myself right now. I'm looking at a couple of different markets in the Midwest, and I thought that it might be helpful to just talk a little bit about what I am doing and how I am doing this research. So today I'm actually going to pick two markets. These are not necessarily the markets that I am personally investing in, but these are markets that I think have great potential: Indianapolis and Philadelphia, and we're going to compare the two of them. As you're going to see throughout this video, you're going to see that both of these markets have really good things that investors should like about them, but there are trade-offs. That is always true in real estate investing. Certain markets have better cash flow, others offer better potential for appreciation. Some might be a little bit riskier, but have higher upside. Others are more slow and steady. So I'm going to pick these two markets, and hopefully you are interested in these two markets, but even if you're not, what I'm going to go through and show you today is a process for comparing different markets against each other. So hopefully this is helpful to you whether you are interested in Indianapolis, Philadelphia, or any other market in the country. One thing I want you to keep in mind as we go throughout this video is that yes, the metrics and the data is a very important part of picking a market, but so is building a team. No matter where you choose, you're going to need to find people who can help you run your business, especially if you don't live in that actual area. The essential things are definitely finding an agent, finding a lender, a property manager, and probably at least a couple of different contractors. And to help you with this, it's not really that hard. BiggerPockets has actually created a bunch of different tools that can help match you with those people that you're going to need on your team. If you need an agent, which is often the first step when you find a new market, is finding a great investor-friendly agent who knows exactly what real estate investors need in a new market. If you want to find one, you can just go to biggerpockets.com/agent match. It's completely free. You put in a little bit of information about the strategies you're interested in, your budget, your experience level, and BiggerPockets is going to match you with an investor-friendly agent in almost any market in the country. If you want to find one, you can just go to biggerpockets.com/agent match. It's completely free. That's it. Let's now compare these two markets, Indianapolis and Philadelphia. When I start doing this, I like to start at the broadest level, and that's mostly on a macroeconomic level. And I know that word sometimes sounds intimidating to people, but basically what you're trying to do is just understand the broad economic picture. Are people moving to the area? What are jobs like? Are wages going up? I just picked a couple of charts to show you, to give you an example of how I would do this. So this first chart just shows population growth. And hopefully you understand why population is important. It's because prices for rent and prices for properties are all dictated by supply and demand. And while there's no perfect predictor of how supply and demand are going to unfold over a period of time, population growth is a really good way to forecast demand, right? If people are moving to an area, that means there's likely more people who are going to need apartments to rent and more people who want to buy homes. So I charted these two cities, Indy and Philadelphia, against each other in terms of population growth. And what you can see here is that the area, the metro area in Indianapolis has shown great growth, about just under 1% per year, which is actually above the average in the entire United States. Meanwhile, if you look at Philadelphia, even going back the last decade, it has much slower growth. For most of the 2010s, Philadelphia was barely growing, and actually the most recent reading back in 2022 shows a slight decline in population growth. So this is a really important factor. And as we're going to talk about throughout this video, there's no right or wrong. It's not like Philadelphia you need to write off your list because population is declining, but it is something that you should definitely take note of because that is an important indicator of future demand. The second macroeconomic thing I'm going to show you is employment. This hopefully makes sense to you, but when you're investing in a place, you want a robust economy where people are employed, they're easily able to pay their rent, and growing wages and growing number of jobs support higher prices in the future. So in this chart, we have three lines. The dotted black line actually just shows the US average for unemployment. And what you can see here is that Indianapolis, again, sort of has a slight edge over Philadelphia in terms of economic performance. Going back over the last 10 years, Indianapolis has had a unemployment rate that is below the US national average and is still there, though the last reading, which was just in July, shows that's about even with the US average. So still really good considering that unemployment across the US as of this recording is relatively low in a historical context. Meanwhile, if you look at the Philadelphia metro area, up until the pandemic, it was about at the US average, but it has been slightly above ever since. It's not really, this is not like a huge number, but it is, again, something to know that it is slightly above the US average. But again, if you talk about a 4% unemployment rate in a historical context, which is where Philadelphia is at right now, extremely low. I just want to show you this because this is a useful exercise that hopefully you could do for any markets that you're looking at. But if you were actually trying to compare these two specific markets, Indianapolis and Philadelphia, you would again probably say that Indianapolis has an advantage in the economic performance over Philadelphia. All right, so that's just an example of how to compare some macroeconomic indicators. You can do the same type of analysis for other things if you want to look at median income, wage growth, household formation, or other things that you can look at for macroeconomic indicators. The other thing that you should look at is housing market conditions. And these are obviously also economic indicators, but they're a little bit different. Rather than looking at sort of these broad trends that are existing across the city, independent of what's going on in the housing market, this is more zoomed in on what's actually going on with supply and demand dynamics, price dynamics in the specific housing market that you're looking to purchase in. So when you look at these two markets, you see that Indianapolis, although it has showing better economic performance in general, has a more affordable price point. The median home price in Indianapolis is about $272,000. Just for reference, as of this recording in the middle of September, the median home price in the United States is about $400,000. When you look at Philadelphia, it's still under the median average, so relatively affordable compared to the rest of the country, but it's at about $346,000. So it is considerably higher, probably about 20 or 30% higher than Indianapolis. The thing to note is that Indianapolis, when you look at the growth rate, which I think you must look at, so it's helpful to say like, okay, here's what the price point is, but you also want to know what the trend is. Like, are prices going up? Have they corrected over 2023 like a lot of markets have? And so that's why we want to look at the growth rate and the trend. And what you see is that Indianapolis Indianapolis has actually had I wouldn't know if you call it a correction, but it's basically down to flat. It is not growing right now. And that is a really important thing for investors to know. Again, does not mean you cannot buy there, but it is something you should obviously be thinking about. So when you look at these two markets, what I see is a trajectory where Indianapolis went up way higher during the pandemic. It was up almost 19% for a period of time, which is huge. And then it came back down further. It actually hasn't gone negative, so there hasn't technically been any sort of correction, but it's very flat right now. Meanwhile, Philadelphia certainly spiked like every market in the country did during the pandemic, it has come down, but it is still growing 4% year over year. So we see one market, Indianapolis, which is a little more volatile right now, or we look at Philadelphia, which is a little bit more slow and steady. Again, no right or wrong answers here, just things to consider. Something that's growing slow and steady, in my mind, is a little less risky, but it probably has less upside. Indianapolis might be a little bit riskier right now, but might have more long-term upside. Again, things to just consider as part of your own strategy. When you look at rent, you see a slightly similar pattern. Both are growing really solidly, but Philadelphia obviously has higher rents given, the higher expenses, and Indianapolis is a bit slower. Both boomed during the pandemic and both have really settled down to about 2 to 3%. So when I look at rent growth, I see a very similar pattern here. Yes, Philadelphia has been a little bit lower in terms of year-over-year rent growth, but when I look at these trends, to me, they look relatively similar. So when you combine these housing market conditions, both the sales price and rent price, you can calculate something known as the rent to price ratio. All you have to do is you divide 1 month of median rent by the median home price, and you get a number that's probably going to come somewhere between 0.3% and 1%. The higher your rent to price ratio, the better in terms of the prospects of generating cash flow. And when you look at this, Indianapolis's rent to price ratio is somewhere between 0.5% and 0.7%. And you can look at it, you can calculate it specifically for the entire metro area, but I actually mapped this out on by zip code and just looked at the range because I think that's a little bit more helpful. Certain areas in Indianapolis have a rent to price ratio of about 0.5 or even a little bit lower, which means that it's going to be very difficult to find cash flow. Meanwhile, there are other areas that in Indianapolis where the rent to price ratio is 0.7% or 0.75%, and that means that you probably will be able to find cash flow in that area. And remember, when I say 0.75% for a zip code, that means that is the average. So as an investor, it is your job to find a deal that is better than that average. So hopefully you're finding a deal with a rent to price ratio of 0.8 or 0.9. And so I do think Indianapolis would be able to offer cash flow, but it's going to be challenging. You're going to have to find a really good deal. Still possible. If you look at Philadelphia, the rent to price ratio is significantly higher. So it's actually 0.7 sort of on the low end, and it goes up above 1%. So overall, cash flow prospects are better in Philadelphia. So in terms of housing market conditions, we've now looked at home prices. We've also looked at rent, and we've looked at the rent to price ratio. If you want to do some extra credit and look at a little bit deeper, I recommend you look at days on market or inventory. Those are also great things for you to look at because they help measure the balance of supply and demand in a given market. If inventory or days on market are low, that generally means you're in a seller's market. Prices are likely to increase in the near future. That is a short-term indicator, but it is something to know. Or if you see that inventory is rising, that means you're probably in a buyer's market or moving into a buyer's market. And that means in the short term that you are likely to see prices flat or potentially even decline given the economic environment we're in. So those are some additional things you can look at. But let's just summarize everything we've talked about. We've talked about two different markets, Philadelphia and Indianapolis. We've talked about some of the broadest, most important economic indicators and housing market indicators. So when we put these two things together, we see Philadelphia, it's a bit more expensive, but rent is higher. And the rent to price ratio, the range is a little bit better. So on the low end, you're probably not going to find cash flow in every market, in every neighborhood. But given the maps that I created, if you look at the rent to price ratio in certain areas, there is definitely great potential for cash flow. On the downside, downside, population in Philadelphia on the most recent reading declined, which is something to consider. And employment, it's still really low in historical context, but if you look at it relative to other cities in the United States, it's just a little bit higher. Again, something to pay attention to. When we look at Indianapolis, it has a lower price point, so it's a bit more affordable for investors. And the economic situation is great. Population is growing, unemployment is low, but the cash flow is going to be a little bit more difficult to find, and prices as of right now are relatively flat. So which of these two markets is better? Well, there is no such thing. I'm sorry to break it to you, but I can't tell you which market you should invest in because it depends entirely on your preferences and your personal strategy. If you have a time horizon that's very long and you're looking to build wealth and to build equity, maybe choose Indianapolis because it has strong economic fundamentals. Or if you're looking to retire in the next 3 to 5 years and you want to build as much cash flow as possible, Philadelphia is probably a better market for you, even though it might not grow in terms of property prices at the same rate as Indianapolis. You need to be thinking about your own personal situation. What is your risk tolerance? How many resources do you have at your disposal? What is your time horizon? These are the things that dictate which markets you should choose. So the reason I made this video is not to tell you whether Philadelphia or Indianapolis is better. I think both are good and both offer really strong investing prospects. It's to teach you a little bit about how to think about selecting a market. You need to start with your own preferences, then do this type of market research to figure out which one is best aligned with your preferences. I hope this video has been helpful to you in that effort. And again, if you want to learn more about a market, whether it's Philly, Indianapolis, or any other market in the country, and you want to get a great investor-friendly agent, go to biggerpockets.com/agent match. The link is below. For Bigger Pockets, my name is Dave Meyer. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again next week.
If you missed the early bird discount window for Billionaire's Garden City by Cedarwood, well, you have another opportunity to subscribe again at 2.5 million naira, but this time to Billionaire's Garden City by Cedarwood Phase 2. Same neighborhood, because Billionaire's Garden City by Cedarwood shares a common boundary with Billionaire's Garden City by Cedarwood Phase 2. There isn't anything much to miss, except of course the different levels of infrastructural development. But Billionaire's Garden City by Cedarwood Phase 2 is located here at Ibuzo, in the amazing city of Asaba. You also get to enjoy an amazing view, and of course Billionaire's Garden City by Cedarwood Phase 2 also has a registered survey and a deed of assignment, and also promises of even improved estate amenities.
Looking for a studio to run online radio shows, podcast series, record jingles? The Cedarwood Luxury Studio is highly equipped and available to give you the very best of studio experience.